Hello, everybody, and welcome. Here we go again. It's a Monday. It's the beginning of another week as we make our way through the pandemic. Welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Now we do the trickery that we are all famous for, which is hopefully to be able to put up the link, and which I have done. And next we'll be putting up the link of the show for people who keep pestering me and don't know any better, that it's always the same every single fucking time. All right, so here we go. We'll do this. And hey, I'm going to get this done relatively quickly this time and painlessly. Pretty soon, I'm going to get really good at this. I've only been doing it for 16 years. No, actually, the Zoom, though, I haven't been doing that long. How is everybody doing? We have just the five of us. We can make it if we try. Yeah.
Well, Steven's in the chat room, so he might be popping on.
Yeah, I just put the link in, and he'll say, "Yeah, could you put the link in again?"
Set down
Thank
your
you so
chip.
much for that. Thank you. Here's what I want to do. I'm sensing some things changing. All right. And I'm going to, seeing how nobody will step out on a limb and everybody is playing the middle line, on this, I'm going to step out and tell you what I honestly think. I think the Trump administration is making a humongous mistake. I think it's going to be an error that will be catastrophic. I think it's going to ruin his political career. I think it's going to ruin the Republicans. And I think it's going to ruin the whatever little faith anyone ever had in government isn't going to be restored by the idiot Democrats either. I think we're headed into a really dark situation. Donald Trump finally acknowledged today that the 60 for 74,000 it's going to be 100,000, when now we find out that the model that the White House is using says 135,000 people will die. If you're not counting, that's twice as many as we have right now. That means we're going to go through the death process, just like we have since March, and it's going to continue. Now, other models are showing that the White House is using that by June, 3,000 people will be dying a day. And this is what Donald Trump is looking at. Yet he opens the country. Now, I think it's a mistake. And I think it's a mistake for all the governors to be doing this too. And let me tell you what bothers me more than anything in the world is when I can share images with you, and it is always fun to share certain images with you. Wait, I'll get one of my faves if I can find one of them.
Are these not safe for work, Moo? Because there's
Mark,
children watching.
Your Dactar saying your mic is clicking on YouTube.
Well,
I'm getting like garbled.
Well,
I can
if
hear
we're
you,
back
but-
to that again, there's nothing I can do about it.
All right.
What
Well,
I can do is lose all
just
of
saying-
I can lose all of my bookmarks that I've set up the show on. But unfortunately,
Brian, I will say there's been some issues with Zoom nationwide, where
That's because everybody's fucking using it now.
that's right.
Exactly.
That's exactly
Number
right.
one on the hit
don't-
parade.
They don't have their little hamsters are running themselves to death trying to keep
They're
up.
panting now.
It's like a fat.
I'm sorry if I'm
dog boulder.
clicking. Are you guys getting the same clicking on me that he's getting?
I was, but I wasn't sure if it was from my end or not.
Can you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
I
Is
can
it
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
understand, but there's definitely
Just a
Normally
little
you
bit.
can't understand
a
what you're saying.
disruption?
but- Oh wait, no, never mind. That's
What I say doesn't really matter much anyway. We're going to share a screen right now with you that I think is really worth sharing. This is old man Mitch McConnell, okay? Fucking old man Mitch McConnell, all right? This is what bothers me. You know, We're opening up states and masks are optional, but not for us in the Senate because we're all gonna die. We're gonna die from this hoax virus. Fuck you, Mitch McConnell, up the ass. And every old motherfucker, Joe Biden included, every single one of you people who are leading this country into telling people that they have an option as to what they get to do when you yourselves know how dangerous this is. This bothers me, and it makes me fucking sick to my stomach. You know, this is dangerous shit. This isn't something that's just like, oh, it's just gonna go away. They're letting people go out in the middle of this, and they won't go out in the middle of this even in closed chambers. In a closed session, they won't take off their masks. I'm walking around places, and went into the grocery store, and, I would say that about 40 to 50% of the people weren't wearing masks. That's what they hear on the news. That's what their lawmakers are telling them. Hey, it's safe to go out now. I also found out today something that isn't very good. Pandemic studies are showing that my county in Florida is one of 22 targeted areas most likely to become the next hot spots in their states. Manatee County, right here in Florida. We're up to 633 cases. That's 300 more cases than the county below us. Why? They're not telling us that either. I would drink too if I were you, Rox. Drink heavily. Seriously, gun down a martini for me and I don't even drink. God only knows. This is dangerous shit. And what bothers me more than anything is that the people who are leading us into a bad situation, and meanwhile, all the president of the United States has to say is, I'm greeted with a hostile press, the likes of which no president has ever seen. This is a pandemic, the likes of which we've never seen. This is an economy so great, it's the likes of which we've never seen. Fuck you and your hyperbole. Fuck you. You're lying to the American public. You're flat out lying to them. You want to be reelected. The senators want to be reelected. The governors want to be reelected. They're all pandering to their base. A lot of people are going to die. 68,000 so far. Now the conservative White House model is showing 135,000. This is no time to open up this country. I want to tell everybody who is willing to listen to reason, do not do this. Do not. It's one thing to say, well, the economy is going to tank. The economy's already tanked, folks. The economy's tanked. I could tell you by what percentage I'm affected, but you're all affected by the same percentage. It's tanked. It ain't coming back anytime real quick. Not at 25% capacity. All that's going to do is get 25% capacity into places to spread the fucking disease. Doesn't make any sense. Stay close to home. Stay safe. Make sure you do the essential things you need to do. Get your food, get your water. Don't let them talk you into this because of their gung-ho, faux patriotism or whatever the fuck it is. They don't care about you. They never did care about you. You're not the economy. You're the consumer. They care about the big companies. That's why they got all the small business loans. Wake up. Unbelievable. I got another one for you. For all the people who are so conspiratorially oriented in this country, all like a good conspiracy, don't you? Well, here's one for you. Where are the fake antibody tests coming from? You want to start speculating about something? You want to do antibody testing, and yet the ones floating around are all fake. Where are they coming from? They're not coming from China. Wake up! Good God. If you're going to have a discussion about something, let's have discussion about things that are significant. There are people taking antibody tests in this country, and they're totally falsified and fictitious. And they're not even sure that antibody
Just like
tests...
they're counting fucking deaths that have nothing to do with corona as corona.
You keep sticking up for your buddies. You keep sticking up for your buddies. It's going to...
I'm
Look,
pointing out the goddamn facts.
well, the facts are that there is
The
no
facts are
good
we need the
decision.
goddamn country to reopen. Okay?
There's
We
no
have
good
industry
facts.
going out of business all over the fucking country. Why
Where for J.
the
Crew?
fuck
Where?
couldn't we do
Where for the
something?
big boys? We've been out of business for how many decades? Wake
And
up!
whose fucking fault is that? The goddamn Democrats ran the fucking Congress.
Oh, Jesus. Can
You
believe this?
asshole.
Y'all gonna argue about this. Y'all gonna argue about political parties and people are fucking keeling over dying. Are you kidding me? That's what they did.
Bush
They
is the one that
reassembled in
opened goddamn
masks.
China to business anyway.
They reassembled in masks in Congress and started arguing immediately along party lines. It's pathetic. We're not doing anything for you or me. Rox is doing more for herself right now than the government is willing to do for Rox.
Do you understand that we're going to have fucking food shortages starting in August?
Yeah, and why?
Because people, farmers and ranchers are having to kill their goddamn livestock. There's no goddamn
Because
meat
of the
packing
hoax virus,
open.
you mean? Is this because of the hoax virus?
I
Is
never
this
said it
because
was
of the
a
one that
hoax.
isn't killing as many people as we say it is? Is that why we're having meat shortages?
Did I ever call it a hoax? Go back to fucking
Well, you're
February when
minimizing
you
it.
asked
You're
me,
minimizing
and I
it
said
by
it's
telling
gonna,
people, oh, not that many people are really
they're
dying
gonna
from
fucking
it.
die anyway. You're
Jesus
gonna
Christ.
die. Rox is gonna die. Hammer's gonna die. He's gonna die. I'm gonna die. It's the only goddamn guaranteed thing when you're fucking born. That at some point you will die.
You brought up a meat shortage. You're saying that this virus that hasn't killed that many people is going to shut down the economy by taking away our meat supply. Ooh, fear, fear.
Yeah,
you know
but
something?
Yeah, and farmers
And be
are
a
plowing under produce.
vegetarian.
Yeah, how are you gonna be a vegetarian when there's fucking no produce, you asshole?
Yeah, because everybody's dying who's growing it. Come on, be consistent.
The
You
farmers
can't
aren't
be not
dying.
serious and then be
They're
that
plowing under their
serious.
goddamn crops because there ain't no fucking way to get it to market.
Oh,
And there ain't no buyers. Why do you think there's fucking minus
Wait.
$50
Brian,
for oil?
Brian, you're totally off base here. Why are you saying there's no buyers? There's businesses that are still in business. All the businesses that deal with food are considered essential businesses. All right. You're totally contradicting yourself here. All those businesses are still the meat packing processing, the meat processors, all those things are trying to keep things in business. The shortage issue is the bad issue for the economy is the people that don't have money. That's the part of it. The food shortages, I don't see how you can come up with the fact that the farmers can't get stuff to market. There's still truckers going all over the place. Not to mention the fact that the price of fuel has dropped considerably. It's even cheaper for truckers to get their products into a processing facility. All right. Now, come up with something better than that. I agree that they are lumping other deaths into COVID. Okay. If you happen to be tested for COVID and you die and you may have had a heart attack, they're throwing that in there with a COVID death. That is happening. Okay.
How does that make this less serious, though?
However, this has still killed more people than 10 years of Vietnam. 10 years of the Vietnam War. This has killed more people in 2 months in the United States alone.
Do you realize that if what these models are saying is correct and we hit 3,000 deaths a day, that'll be every day a worse outcome than 9/11? No, this is just numerical fact.
So
And
what
we're
do you
walking
propose
right
we
into
do?
it. It's scary
What do you
as hell.
propose we do? What do you propose we do, Mark? Should we just wall up everything with plastic and cardboard and never leave our fucking homes ever the fuck
No.
again?
No.
Regardless?
Let me answer the
Come on.
question. I'll be more than happy to answer your question. And the answer to the question is you cannot tell me that one state can open up beauty salons and gyms and tattoo parlors, and another state have a no go back to work orders, and another state, the problem is the entire concept of states' rights is a failure. It's an abysmal failure because there are national issues that have to be taken up by the central government. And I know you don't have faith in that, but you know something? Y'all don't have faith in nothing. From what I can see, I'm reading the stuff you're posting, Brian. You got a guy who's sitting there, laying waste to the fact that the governor of Illinois, is being called a Nazi by people in the state, and he's justifying
allowing his fucking family to travel when everybody else in the state is having a travel ban or a stay-at-home order being enforced.
Look, there is no comparison between the
The
governor
law
of Illinois.
applies to thee, not for me.
But Whitmer,
that's the
Michigan is
bullshit that
also
they
being
don't
called
like.
Hitler. You guys love Hitler, man. You guys been watching the History Channel. You fucking love Hitler.
You know who really loved Hitler? FDR, because he wrote love letters to Adolf.
Yeah, and you know who loves him today?
You better not fucking say it.
I think he is.
The guy
You
you're
little chicken
retweeting.
shit.
The guy you're retweeting. That's who loves Hitler. That's who loves him.
James Woods doesn't love Hitler.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't retweet anything that is heinous like that. I really don't. And I'm sorry. I'm not even a practicing Jew. But please do not compare. Whatever you do, and you're the first ones to say, oh, well, Biden should not be running because we believe every woman and this and that and this and that. We lump everything together today. I like to try people on an individual basis. If Joe Biden is guilty, then he's got to be dealt with and he's got to be thrown in jail.
Well, the Joe Biden thing is calling out the Me Too bullshit with Alyssa Milano sitting in the back of Christina Blasey Ford holding up her little placards. Oh, he should be hung from his balls. Oh, me too.
It's like Mitch McConnell wearing a mask.
Fucking shit.
It's like Mitch
goddamn Joe
McConnell
Biden.
wearing a mask into the chamber. It's the same thing. There's a lot of people who are hypocritical. A lot of people. My answer.
How about the VP going to the hospital to visit people, and everyone in the group, including the reporters and everybody, had a mask on except for the vice president. And his story was that he didn't know anything about it. However, and the message, and they're going to sue the reporter that talked about it. What? Because
Yeah,
it
and
really happened?
Donald Trump never heard of David Duke. All right. This is, and you can tell your
Just
retweet
about
buddy,
him fucking
your-
8,000 fucking times.
Tell
Jesus
your
Christ.
your retweet hippie buddy there who never washes his fucking hair. You tell him that Donald Trump said to the press, I never heard of David Duke before. And it was proven that historically he knew exactly who he was. And you know why? Because he panders.
Yeah, and
What he does is
fucking
he tells
Hillary
people,
Clinton
oh,
soul kissed a
there's some
goddamn
good
grand
people.
dragon of the KKK.
there's
You
some good
lose.
people amongst those
You
white
fucking
supremacists.
lose.
Good people.
The
And
party
you know
of the
something?
KKK.
You're all coming down and showing what you are. Let's be together on this. The answer is there are essential businesses that we need to support. All right. And then
And there's businesses all across the fucking spectrum that we need to support too.
yeah,
Okay,
but-
not everybody can work at a gas station or whatever. You
Or
can't
a
have
nurse
fucking
or whatever.
15,000 gas stations.
not everybody is going to work when restaurants are at 25% capacity, Brian. I mean, you could open things
And that's
up.
the problem. That's
And-
the problem.
and
Major
the pro-
chains can handle it, but not these little fucking mom and pop places.
Mr. Muhammad, isn't all this laws that they're telling us we can't go to parks? Isn't that unconstitutional? Like, aren't they breaking the law? Like telling us
Pretty
we can't
much.
go to a park?
You know, the Constitution is the most overrated thing. It was written by men who said that all men are created equal and they held slaves. Give me a fucking break. The Constitution is as flawed as the Bible that men wrote. Men are flawed. God is not flawed. Men.
And it was Southern Democrats who seceded from the
But
Union.
remember, Mr.
So,
Muhammad, these politicians, whether it's left or right, they get to wake up and argue every day and nothing gets done. They pass laws where them and their friends and their family don't have to follow, and the rest of us do. And they get to wake up to a paycheck on the 1st and the 15th of each month, guaranteed, and they're all millionaires. Let that sink in while they sit here and determine and tell you who's essential and who's not, and passing these ridiculous, phony laws of going. You can't simply go to a freaking park. I mean, what a fucking joke that is.
No, well, I'll give you an example. Rox is from Oklahoma, Stillwater, which is where one of the universities is in Oklahoma State, Stillwater.
Oklahoma State. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and in Stillwater, they instituted, the mayor instituted there's a prerequisite that you had to wear masks. And within 3 hours of the ordinance being done, there were reported violence by people who were pulling weapons and were threatening employees because they didn't want to wear masks and it was unconstitutional to make them. What about your conscience? Fuck the Constitution. What about your conscience as a human being? We always want to go back to this archaic thing when there were very few people on the face of the earth compared to today and say, oh, it's the foundation of the building blocks. But it wasn't a future portrayer of the way the world would be. We got to think with our heads today. You can't just be a complete reconstructionist and say, well, that's what they would have done with the pandemic. They all would have fucking died. Come on. We're trying to prevent everybody, or a large percentage, or 60 to 70% for you culling the herd people, and mass immunity people. I don't want 70% of the country to have this disease because there are going to be too many people who die.
But Mr. Muhammad, this essential versus non-essential, most of
Yes.
these people that are telling you to stay home either got a secure job or they got enough money to where they've accumulated
I would agree.
to stay at home, or they're rich and powerful and famous and they can retire at the age of 23 and they don't have to ever work again. That's what it seems like to me. That's what it is.
So what is the civic duty of people? Is it to open up businesses that and gyms and working out and being together and partying together and going to the beach? What is the
how
responsibility?
about let the companies make their own fucking guidelines?
Hey, Josh, can you open our can of cat food?
Because they won't do the right thing because they're not doing the right thing now. The fucking meat packing plants that you're defending didn't protect their workers, Brian. That's why they all got fucking sick. They didn't take this
They didn't get
seriously.
sick, they got shut down. They were considered fucking non-essential.
And all those people are out of work.
Those jobs ain't coming back.
Have you seen the statistics of the cities at the Tyson plants, how high the count is? And do you know that the workers refused to go back to work? See, you spin everything. The workers didn't want to go back to work. And the reason is they were going to get sick and a number of them were going to fucking die. And the reason is because they didn't have proper sanitation within the plant. These meat packing people, give me a break. These people can't even control the salmonella in their products. They sit there and they do the fucking, the USDA will sit there and go in and grade the meat, and then the health department will go in and it's like, well, it's acceptable. You got so much salmonella in your chicken. These people, the Tyson Corporation, fuck them in the bunghole, man. They don't give a shit. They never did. And the chicken and poisoning people is no more important than poisoning their workers. It was non-sterile conditions that closed the goddamn plants down. And it was also not taking this goddamn virus seriously enough. That's what it was. And that's the reason why you have a 15 to 20% shortage in pork plants in the United States of America now, is because they weren't prepared, because the United States wasn't prepared, because Donald Trump fiddled around while Rome burned and said, oh, it's just going to go away in May. And then he referred to it as a hoax virus. He was just saying that it was a political machination of the other side. And now the Democrats say that the political machination is on the other side. And
But Mr. Muad, to be fair, I don't think anybody here in the United States really took the virus seriously. When it was in China, everyone said, well, it's better them than us. And then when these little stories of people returning back and they had the virus, but, oh, they were quarantined and they didn't show symptoms, but, oh, you don't see symptoms for 2 weeks. So even if we did test them, we still wouldn't know. I mean, it was bound to spread. And in fact, it was probably spreading even before that.
yeah.
Not to mention that the fucking Chinese government wasn't telling anybody about this for 2 or 3 months.
Fuck the Chinese
And they were
government.
allowing goddamn people to fly from Wuhan to everywhere else in the goddamn world.
And we
Especially
handled
the
it no
United
better than they
States.
did. We handled it no better than they did.
Mr.
If
Muad,
We
we
had
knew
a
s-
shutdown in January 24th in the middle of the fucking impeachment.
and Mr.
But
Muad,
no, you don't want to believe that because, well, Pelosi is your goddamn god.
well,
I
Mr.
don't
Mr.
consider
Muad,
that would be a goddess. Go ahead.
And Mr. Muad, I heard they already started basketball season in China and they returned back to normal. I think Lynn Sanity's playing for one of the teams in China right now. And
That
Already
may be
I'm
proof
sure
that-
Stephon
that there's-
Marbury is too. At
Yeah, and that may be proof
847.
that the virus is affecting somebody if it's, if the insanity is playing
Well,
again.
this is, and I hate to butt in. This is
No,
just
please.
a classic case of how our political system's broken. There's no give or take. Inside story here. I live in Minnesota, of course. We all know. Our health department came out the other day and said 99.25% of all deaths in this state are people with long-term healthcare facilities or underlying medical conditions. My grandma, or not my mother, has brain cancer. She was scheduled to undergo a cyberknife surgery to remove the tumor on her head. The governor has shut down in the state non-essential surgeries.
And same
Her surgery
here
was
in
deemed
Florida,
non-essential.
Yep.
What the fuck are we doing here? We can't have some give or take on this.
yeah.
I mean, you're going to kill more people who have these, and they're going to be deemed non-essential because we don't want them to go to the doctor and get the coronavirus.
The American Medical Association really describes, just like the ADA, the American Dental Association. I'm sitting here with a non-essential situation with my implant that is halfway done and a big space in the bottom of my teeth. That's not essential. They say that if you are in pain, life-threatening or in extreme pain, they will do a procedure for you, but they have guidelines, what they consider elective dental surgery, elective medical surgery, and that's the definition they're going by. And your definition for your family of what is essential is obviously going to be radically different than what the medical association
and they've declined her surgery and said she can wait. She's a fucking cancerous tumor on her brain.
yeah, that's bullshit.
And don't worry, the insurance companies won't cover it
No.
when she does have it. You can count on
No,
that too.
Jesus Christ. I'm trying to save my mother here, and I'm getting told her surgery's non-essential, even though she has fucking brain cancer.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, there's got to be some give or take in this fucking economy.
Now, if it's of any help to you, I believe here in Florida, and you can use this to talk to the doctors up there, because Florida's got a lot more activity with the virus than Minnesota does.
Right.
My dentist is opening up on a limited basis on May the 6th, and I know that I'm going to be getting a call from my oral surgeon, and and I'm scheduled technically for May the 11th. I'm going to open up my slot for someone else. I don't want to go in. I really don't want to go in. I don't want to deal with this, really. But I think you're going to
You
see
can live with you can live a couple, a month or two with a hole in your mouth. You know what I mean?
and well, I already have, and I mean, and if they have to bone graft or do whatever they're going to do, I'd rather do that than run the risk of getting into a situation. I caught H1N1 in a dental office years ago, back the original bird flu, and I should never have watched the Celtics play, and I ended up with bird flu. I hate that. They relive those old games, and it's like, I don't need that shit. Next, there's more that makes me really wonder about the change in what I'm seeing. There was one thing here that, and I want to see if I have this. ESPN did a study, all right? Fans are favoring sports returning without spectators. This is fans.
Without fans?
Without fans.
Mm-hmm.
The fans want sports without their own presence. This has to be a first. Obviously, somebody is taking this really seriously because of the fans aged 18 or older. 65% were in favor of sports returning, even if the fans couldn't be in the stands. And that approval number grew to 76% when participants were asked if they support the return of sports without fans in the stands, if players were kept in hotels and their contact with others was closely monitored. So in other words, we want the athletes to be as cloistered as we are. Now, if you're in favor of fully opening the country and allowing people in and fans in the stands and people on the beaches, you're on the wrong side right now, because things are changing as far as the perception of this. This has been going on for such a long time now, and it's never not that long, but it seems like a long time. And I think people are scared. I think people are worried.
Here's the thing. The average basketball arena is roughly 12,000 people to 14,000 people.
Yeah.
Why can't they operate at 25% gate?
Yeah.
Well,
You could have people in the stands, regular ticket holders in the stands for a certain amount of, and have them spaced out accordingly.
Brian, I mean, we yell at each other, and Brian and I appreciate having opposing views on the program. You know what's going to happen. I mean, no fans in the stands. You want to watch that on the NBA League Pass or whatever, the NFL.
It'd be fun,
Sunday
man.
Ticket, they're gonna
Well,
throw up.
For NBA, just Draymond Green talking shit to people, and you can be able to hear it. And fucking,
I like one of the Bengals games.
You can actually hear his guy he's guarding get kicked in the nuts.
But they're going to pass along the price. They're going to try to make more money for the live broadcast and try to make up for the fans who aren't there.
Well, this Saturday, the UFC is going to have that very type of an event. They're going to have a live it was pay-per-view, or at least that was the plan for it still. And they've moved it to Florida, to Jacksonville, Florida.
Of course.
So they're headed your way, Moo. Okay, just to let you know. They're on the other coast at least, but you're good. But yeah, it's I mean, they're going to have no fan event just because people want to see sports. Look at the numbers for the draft. Look at how many people were watching the draft. People are dying for sports. They've had the iRacing League or whatever with both NASCAR and IndyCar. I saw some kind of Formula One crossover thing this weekend with that. They've been showing Madden games. Saturday.
How much are people going to be willing to pay for these pay-per-view events?
$20.
Well, that's the question, because for me, I basically go to see all these pay-per-views, but I go out to a bar, which is now closed.
Yeah.
For the same reason. Part of the reason I go isn't because I can't afford it. It's one, I'm too lazy to cook. But two, it's the gathering of being with people to watch the event.
Sure, you're bonding with people.
Exactly.
And
we have, even though we may differ in our opinions, like Brian and I or whatever it may be, and you might like this fighter and I might like that fighter, it's still the fact that we're there and we can appreciate what's going on together, and it's that bonding experience. It's like going, I mean, there was supposedly a glut of chicken wings at these chicken joints because the March Madness never went off. So all these restaurants had ridiculous amounts of chicken wings that they were planning on selling, and they all got closed.
Yeah.
So
Were they Tyson's? Just asking.
Well, they were spoiled then long before they got spoiled. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Brian and Hallman, it's like set up for a joke. So, Mark Seberg and Brian Hallman are sitting in a room watching a Browns football game. That would be but the fact is, if it were the Super Bowl and the Cleveland Browns won, Brian Hallman and I would be hugging one another, jumping up and down, because it is a unifying thing. And I'm not against having sports. That, I would hope that Dana White and Vince McMahon and all of these people, against my better judgment, I really hope that they are taking care of their employees, to do everything they can to keep them safe, and to keep a leash on some of these folks so that they don't go hog wild out in public. And I don't think they deserve special treatment compared to every other citizen. What bothers me is that I have this sick feeling that, because, what you brought up, Ryan, about, the limited takes on these things. I was reading a story today, and I think I have it somewhere sitting in here, about how, let's see if I can, the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins, have revealed a mock-up plan to host fans at the stadium during the pandemic. And it's exactly what you said, Brian. They're saying the Hard Rock Stadium can hold approximately 65,000 fans, but the Dolphins said they might be down to 15,000 fans for the next season per game as they adjust to a different setup. So, they got to make the money some other way. And I mean,
what about the NBA League Pass, where they just make you have to purchase that to see the games?
And no, but the price is going to go up for that.
Yeah, like $49.99.
I was going to go way up.
and
They're going to double the price of that, because if you want to watch the sports bad enough, you're going to have to sacrifice too. You see, this is the way it all plays out. It's like the shit ball. The shit ball that rolls downhill eventually rolls over all of us, okay? If it starts above us, it's going to, and the people on the bottom are the ones who get slaughtered by the shit ball.
Yeah.
And
they always say shit rolls downhill.
And that's
usually because there's an asshole at the top of the hill.
Yeah, that's the trickle down theory.
Well, the guy at the top of the hill is Jimmy Haslam. He takes a big shit, and that whole shit log just rolls all the way down.
Now I heard too that the NFL has canceled the London games for this season. They're going to come back and play them here, assuming the season goes.
If they play at all. But see, here's the other thing that and this has gotten really big. Dish Network, who is obviously one of the biggest or surprise people out there, suppliers of content for people, they want to cut their payment to ESPN because ESPN hasn't been giving them sports, and ESPN charges more than any other network out there for their content per subscriber. And they're like, well, but you haven't given us anything. So this is kind of all, once again, it's that trickle down thing. Because we didn't have sports, there's nothing to watch. There's no money to pay the subscriber. It's like, they're all kind of rolling down the hill here. So that could be something. Most of the sports leagues, the professional sports leagues, make the majority of their money through contracts, TV contracts, radio contracts, whatever. The gate is a really nice thing that adds to it, but the majority of the money is in that broadcasting rights. And that's the reason why they want to put this stuff back on.
You know, and I agree. I mean, that is the true gravy in the whole situation. That, and of course, in the NFL, it's, you know, selling jerseys, and it's, you know, all of that.
Mr. Muhead, what do you see happening with the NBA now that we're in the month of May? Do they cancel the season? Is there any way to finish it? What do they do?
They're talking about starting the whole next season in December. I mean, I don't think there's any chance of them getting.
We're not going to have a champion in 2020.
No,
Nope.
I believe it's not going to happen. And I know it's going to upset LeBron James.
And there's not going to be a summer league for the draft picks either.
Right. I mean, they wouldn't be ready to play now. The players wouldn't be ready to play now anyway. A lot of them.
It's going to upset the Lakers because they could have tied the Celtics for this year for most NBA championships.
Believe me, everybody, you know, it's one thing if it's, what is it? Like if you bring it on yourself, you know, like when we had the scab players, you know, in the NFL. I mean, if you decide you're going to have a work stoppage, that's one thing. But this is not one side wanting a work stoppage or the other side. This is like, you know, a necessity.
And about a private island where like UFC had the idea of going to a private island. Do you think that could work for the NBA?
Well, the Harlem Globetrotters visited Gilligan's Island once, as I recall. No, I mean, it's not going to be an island. I mean, you know, no. I mean, we could let them play in a leper colony. It's better than virus. You know, I mean, it's like.
Then you don't care if there's attendance or not.
Exactly. That will
Very
really
well
reduce the
spaced.
fans' desire.
But see, half off tickets gives a totally different meaning in a
I
left.
think they could
column.
play
Yeah.
the games in Hawaii. I think that would be a perfect destination.
Or
Yeah,
the fact that the tickets costed an arm and a leg.
yeah. I just
Left,
no. I don't
left,
think.
left or right, sir.
I don't think the NBA is going to play this year, and I think that it's really the NFL now.
They should make them play at Nassau. Send them to the fucking Bahamas.
Now, did you hear what I heard, which is way up in the sky, shepherd boy? I've got Bing Crosby in my mind, and I wish it would stop. I mean, Son of Sam heard a dog talking to him, and I hear Bing Crosby. Now I've lost what I was going to say because of Bing. Fucking Bing is fucking
That's
right.
correct.
We start throwing out names. Will that help?
Bing Crosby's horse still hasn't come in.
It had something. It had some. Oh, it was that the NFL, what they had decided or to approach. You know, and it's funny whenever they think about something out loud, it seems to come to fruition. They wanted to postpone the start of the season by 4 weeks. All right, this is on the table, folks, and eliminate all of the bye weeks and make them play 17 straight weeks.
Oof.
I'm serious. I'm not making this up. You got 16 tons. What do you get? Another day.
Gay older and another concussion.
I mean,
I
it's
sold
like-
my soul to the brain damage institution.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucked
In the
up.
rosters to 90 players.
Remember it's when they did the lockout and we had the free agency every day for like 2 weeks?
What-
Everything getting signed by the minute.
They consulted Dr. Mengele on this, and he gave a thumbs up. You know, it's
So
fucked
would
up.
they
No,
have- Would they have
Right.
preseason then, or would?
no, they would. There'd be no preseason. There would be no bye week. They'd play 17 consecutive weeks and get in and get out. The owners would make all their money, and the players would be further crippled for life. And that would be Bob Kraft getting a hand job. That would be it.
Wow.
I know. It's right now. Everybody's pushing their season back, and there's a reason for that. And yes, I was bellicose, not Bill, but I was bellicose in the beginning of the program. And the
Not to be
reason
confused
is,
with varicose. Totally
yes,
different thing.
but I'm not that vain, okay? But you probably think the song is about you, okay? Thank you. You were going to say it if I didn't, Rick. I could see the wheels.
Yeah. We'll be here all week. Don't forget to try the veal.
Spider vein, spider vein.
It's not ever a spider.
Spider
cave.
Vein
Hey,
does.
Mr. Muhead, so what happens with baseball?
What's baseball? I mean, the lesser of the sports. Well, I mean, there could be no 162 game season. We know that, and
Thank
we're
God.
already, running out of hot weather. I mean, it's not like they. The only thing they could do would be to move the season to indoor facilities, and do it that way. They're beyond the point, I think, of any return, because the game is, people
So,
are not going to just show up to see, they're not going to go to Tony's Dome up there.
The dome doesn't exist anymore. Thank you.
Whatever the fuck, they're
Target
not
Field.
going to go.
Well, Mr.
Yeah,
Rubin,
they have an open air stadium again.
That's right, they do.
Do you see them maybe playing an 80-game season, like just something short?
No,
They're going to try to do.
it wouldn't
whatever they
even
can
be
do.
80 games. It'd be
Yeah.
more like
You're-
50.
You're gonna get a preview of what the MLB season might look like with NASCAR coming back with races every other night here starting.
Did
up
you
in
say
June.
racists every other night?
Well, the races and racists, yes.
Yeah. But no, what baseball was talking about was mixing American and National League teams having 4 divisions. That was what they were talking about, and then shortening the season to 80 games. That was what was on the table for Major League Baseball. But honestly, all of this tells me that nobody really thinks this pandemic is going to get better. Okay, at this point, nobody believes that this thing is going to drop off. So why in God's name are we sending people out there to spread it even more? I'm not sure. But I will say this, that everything points to me that the people who are owners in these sports realize that it's not going to go down, not the way that they originally thought. And it's going to keep getting pushed back until there's no time for the 2020 seasons to take place. I can speak for myself personally. I don't really miss the sports. And the reason is, if you did a goddamn podcast for 16 years, and most of the 16 years, it's only in the last few years I cut back to twice a week. I used to be 5 days a week doing this nonsense, and to be I was always on. It was like the Truman Show. I honestly don't miss it, because there's a whole lot of other things to do. I mean, Roxanne and I were singing karaoke today in separate rooms and on opposite sides of the house. And we both had, earplugs in, so we couldn't hear one another shrieking. But you find other things to do, and, the sports are nice. And, right now, Pause Tony Television is the quintessential Cleveland Cavaliers game, which interestingly, Game 7 would be the one that you'd remember with the Warriors. I'm watching Game 5. The one where the Warriors could have wrapped it up, the one where Draymond Green got himself thrown out. And so they tried to use the "we didn't have Draymond" excuse.
Yeah.
And watching Kyrie Irving just
They
bury
still had a
them.
3-1 lead.
Mhm.
And they still had a 3-1 lead.
And and it was like, and then they're going to show Game 7, but it's fun to sit there and relive something like that, and you don't remember how well that Richard Jefferson played in Game 5. Isn't that the way it always is? The building blocks never get remembered. You remember Kyrie's 41, LeBron's 41 in the game, but you don't remember Richard Jefferson. He played a great basketball game when called upon in a what seemed like a no-win situation. So
Right.
Sports are great things, but honestly, I can take a year off. If it's safe, it's the smart thing to do. I can take a year off of that. But but for people, and I know what Stephen's saying, it's really tough. It's really tough when so much is being taken away that you don't even have that release anymore to be able to, or like Jim was saying, the ability to bond with friends over something. Well, we're very isolated right now. We don't have friends over to the house. We can't go to places to share mutual interests, and that makes it more difficult. So, but I think it's wise that at this point that, I hope from Tony's perspective, for you, Tony, that, I do believe the doctor's offices will be opening. And I think that a woman who has cancer will rank above somebody who's, got to have a fingernail removed. I mean,
You'd hope.
You'd hope. that there will be some, importance and significance to the decisions they make on what's essential and what's not. But sports, because it's such a long season, elongated for so many of these teams that and leagues that.
But Mr. Moohead, all these people they're telling to stay home, they still have to pay bills.
There's
I was hearing people were still getting evicted despite them saying you're not allowed to do that.
I mentioned this the other day, Stephen, and with the CARES Act, it now pays you actually double your salary to sit at home on unemployment.
Oh.
I'm home for 90 days on a layoff. I'm making double what I would have earned working to sit on my ass.
But they're saying that that's not going to be the case in the weeks to come. I've been getting information from news sources that say that that's going to come to a very quick end,
Yeah, they said that double thing's only going to last for so long.
Yeah, it's only 90 days.
That shit ain't flying in Florida. I applied for unemployment April 3rd and haven't got dick.
Oh, wow.
Our system is so flooded here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, in Texas, people were complaining that the whole thing crashed, that they couldn't even get anything.
I waited 4.5 hours to get through to a live representative to apply this morning.
Well, what I would ask everybody, and you can answer it under your breath in your own way, there's an old saying, do you take the bad medicine to get better or not? And the bad medicine is bad. I'll grant you that. But you know what kind of a disaster it will be if we've shut down for this long? We come back for a month or two, and then this thing the genie gets out of the bottle, and then we're just forced to go back. I mean,
and even worse restrictions.
Because historically, that's how it is. It's the rebound after that when people lax up and they have the asymptomatic, and then they get out, and all of a sudden, that's when it fucking explodes.
And what will be blamed will be the Trump administration, all politicians, the party in power will be blamed for this, and state governors who were agreeing with opening their states, and especially the governors who gave more broad edicts for more things to open. These people's political futures will be crushed, and which maybe we should be thankful for. But the bottom line is it will be such a bad situation. You're asking me what I would do. I'm one who believes that the central government takes the bull by the horns and utilizes some of this fucking revenue that they spend on the goddamn war machine for a little bit and divert it to take care of the public at large. And I don't care. You can call it socialism. I think that's what they called FDR, a socialist, after the Depression. But the fact of the matter is, I am a humanitarian, and I believe that people should not be starving in this country because of a fucking pandemic. The government should take charge of this. If there's going to be a goddamn infusion into the economy, the infusion has to be first primarily to keep people alive and to keep people fed. And if we could wait 3 months and kill this thing down so that there wouldn't be this rebound effect, I find that vastly preferable to opening up sooner and then having a relapse.
And
the government was predicting there was supposed to be a second wave in January that was supposed to be worse.
Nobody knows what's going to happen in January based upon the flu season. I mean, look, if they're guessing, and these are the same people guessing the flu shot, whether it's the right flu shot or the wrong flu shot, and they're only right about 45% of the time historically. I don't want to bank people's futures on that. I just think that if somebody gave me, and if I were in charge, it's kind of like, cutting the baby in half, it's kind of like King Solomon, there is no good answer. Sometimes there's only a better answer. And my better answer is to utilize the wealth of the resources of the country, not to do the bidding of big businesses, but to help small individual people get through an additional 3-month period so that they are fed and that they are safe. And then when we do open up the economy, to open it up more full bore. And look, I know it's going to hurt, but it's going to hurt us far more if this thing is a false start. God help us.
So
Well,
how long do you guys think this is going to last? I mean, if you had to make a guesstimate.
You're asking me how long do I think the pandemic is going to last?
Well, the only reason why I'm asking is because I looked up the stats. The bubonic plague was 13 years. The Spanish flu was 3 years. And they were naming like the length, the longevity of all these.
Yeah, but there wasn't people working on vaccines. I mean,
yeah,
look,
they're talking vaccine by January at the latest. So
and
who
you
the hell
know,
knows?
what I'm hearing, and they were floating on Fox said, oh, somebody's going to come up with a vaccine by September. Well, they might come up with it, but they're not going to test it. You're not going to have, if they did everything perfectly, you'll have a vaccine in the first half of 2021. All right. So if you're asking me what the duration of this thing is, I would say if we shut down and continue to shut down and lock down, I think we'd have a lot of this killed off 3 more months from now. And that would buy us the time to get to that period of time. Right now, it's too early to spring this because we're not even close to having any kind of a vaccine for this. And we're not even close enough to, to herd immunity. Which is not a good way to go anyway. But
it's kind of damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't here situation.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
This country cannot survive a false start. You were right on that. What happened was hospitals and nurses threw all their resources at the beginning thinking this was going to be this mass explosion. And when it didn't explode as they expected, all of a sudden they're laying off nurses, they're firing nurses, they're laying off, office staff, doctors are being let go. And so if all of a sudden you open the country full bore without any restrictions and this fucker blows up, there ain't going to be enough room in the hospitals for COVID-19 patients.
Well, a lot of people have for sale signs up. I was driving down my neighborhood, just cruising.
Too late for that.
And I've probably counted at least about 25 new for sale signs in the last.
It's going to be a horrifying thing, and
those are going to be foreclosure signs in about a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all I can say is this. To me, I would take the bad medicine now to try to kill this thing off and to buy myself time for the vaccine. But opening up early, I think it's going to hurt us. I think it's going to be a mistake, and it's something that people are going to suffer needlessly for. I wanted to finish the program today with one last thing about The Last Dance, and I think this kind of falls into my philosophy of being successful in business is I still communicate with virtually all of the people who worked with me and are on very good terms with those folks because we really were working for one another. And I can't express it any other way. There was we before there was me. Michael Jordan, the reason I don't like Michael Jordan, I never will like Michael Jordan, and it's being so much more focused in this stupid 10-part documentary, is the notion that he has never been an activist. And I don't expect athletes to be activists. I don't expect everyone to be Muhammad Ali or, I don't expect that to be the case. But the problem is when Michael Jordan was playing with the Bulls, there was a race in North Carolina, and it was a senatorial race, and Harvey Gantt was the African-American candidate who was running, and, he ran against Jesse Helms, who was
damn near a KKK member.
That's exactly right. I mean, he was a vicious racist. And Harvey Gantt was leading the polls and needed to do something to turn it around. And so he pulled a pre-Trump by running massive ad campaigns that were blatantly scare tactics, showing an economy in the future where black people got jobs instead of white people, in order to paint Harvey Gantt as being preferential toward his own race to scare the base out. And the reason this ties into Michael Jordan was that Michael Jordan's mother was asked to do a public service announcement, not to endorse him, but to do a public service announcement for Harvey Gantt. And this is what Michael Jordan said to his mother. Look, Mom, I'm not speaking out of pocket about someone I don't know, but I will send a contribution to support him, which is what I did. But when it came down to push and shove, when he was pushed on it, his comment was, Republicans buy shoes too. And that's the me first attitude that brings this country right down into the shitter. And
Now,
Michael
the flip
Jordan
side of that is LeBron James licking the nutsack of the Chinese government.
Look, I mean, there is nobody, in my opinion, in his own way, that is more self-obsessed than LeBron James. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he is, but what I can say is that he has done a hell of a lot for facilities up in Northeast Ohio. He has built facilities, contributed to the Ohio State University that he did not even attend, and helped.
He also
build
said in a goddamn interview that, oh, well, I wouldn't meet with Donald Trump, but I'd meet with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You know
Yeah.
what? Kim Kardashian is the biggest goddamn liberal cocktail fucking Democrat you'll ever find in your fucking life. What did she do? She went around to all the prisons and actually went to Donald Trump and got people fucking exonerated, got presidential pardons for black people. Oh my.
And I'm sure that white people.
That's because
who
her
are wealthy
stupid
didn't
ass
get
husband kisses
exonerations.
Trump's balls.
Well, that's the difference. The white people who are privileged never go to prison.
Yeah,
Yes.
just look at Hillary Clinton.
No, I'd be the first to agree.
And Jimmy has.
And Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, none of them will. None of them will go to prison.
Bill Clinton, none of those guys will go.
No, Bill Clinton should, absolutely. I mean, terrible. They never end up there, except for one guy, Bill Cosby. And I've yet to figure out how he fits, but he did go. He did finally go.
I still think he got screwed.
He was the sacrificial lamb because he's already in his fucking 80s.
Yeah, well, he got screwed, but the problem was the women didn't know it. That was.
They couldn't feel it either. It was,
Thanks so much for that.
That leaves a bad Jello image in my mind now,
Yeah.
especially with that face.
See, you have to put the pudding pop and insert it just like so, and then
Cosby gave new definition to a Jello pop. Yeah. Oh, geez. But oh, rocks. Let's hear it. There it is.
The
That's the
disappointing
sound.
Sweater sales take another nosedive.
No, but
Ferrado the Madonna. Now back to you.
But I guess what it comes down to is there are some things that matter more. I mean, Michael Jordan was never going to be poor. Michael Jordan, was the biggest name. He had the biggest endorsements of his era. And LeBron James is never going to be poor. LeBron James has more endorsements than anybody in his era. And, the fact of the matter is, when you tell your mother not to do a public service announcement for a black candidate who's running against a racist, because you're afraid it's going to hinder your shoe sales, I say that maybe this has just gone over the top a little bit too far. And this is the way, unfortunately, people are behaving in the country nowadays, even more so, that it is what me, what I can have. And I really wish that the government would stop supporting these big businesses and bailing these people out. And I really wish the government would focus, and I mean the central government, instead of worrying about what we call socialism, it's solutions that work today. It's solutions that help people. It isn't that we're going to change our way of governing. It isn't that we're suddenly going to become Stalin-esque. the thing is if real people, Brian, got their hands on money, real people like your family were supported by the government through this period of time so that they were not punished by the safety standards during a pandemic, that would technically be socialism, but it would be the right thing to do. And sometimes we just have to put things aside ideologically and just say, we should do something that's the right thing to do. And that's what I would do.
I don't mind a shutdown for 3 months, but if you're gonna require people still have to pay bills, you either compensate them or you freeze those payments. And they're not
the ones falling in that problem, because most of the mortgage companies, by the way, if you reach out to them, there's forbiddance plans that they automatically can approve you for 90 days.
Without penalizing you?
Yeah, but see, that's the problem becomes those payments accrue.
No, that's what they're trying to scare you in. But most of them have a clause that they put that at the end of your term and not stack it on. So when you're coming back, you're not walking into 3 payments. So that's, I'm a realtor.
But what about for renters though? Because renters,
that's what I'm saying. There's big loopholes for renters. You've got to contact your landlord. Every case is different, and they're in different situations too. You don't know if they own, 1 property, 5 properties, 100 properties.
Because I know they got someone to answer to too. So
yeah, well,
Right.
Maybe they own outright. So, every situation is different. But there's a lot of efforts to help even renters. So,
But I'm just saying, when they shut this country down, the people who are really at the bottom are living either paycheck to paycheck.
Yep,
or
I know.
Small business owners, like they're mostly affected by this.
Yeah.
I just want the government to use the power of its wealth to help the population and stop, the truth of the matter is we're in deep shit regardless.
Well,
But I'll tell you, you don't want to have a country full of millions and millions of unemployed people who are hungry and who own guns.
I mean, it's one in a century situation. I mean, this shit doesn't go on,
Right.
it's 5 generations back that shit like this goes on. So, I mean, that's when you need your government to step in.
Can you imagine? I mean, Donald Trump would be totally undefeatable if he took on the role of a populist and said, we're going to ride the American public through this pandemic. And I'm calling on businesses to support the people to keep this country going and moving. Honest to God, if he wants to be reelected, that's the way to get it done, because he will be beloved. And that's what he wants.
It will be a landslide.
Yeah. Because, I mean, honestly, Joe Biden, let's get real.
Right.
I mean, the guy can't stay awake. I mean, it really is. No, it's unfortunate. He's Bill Masterson.
I know.
He really is Masterson-esque.
You could bring Joe Biden to New York and he'd go, boy, it's a lovely day here in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, getting off the plane, God only knows. Is this Fantasy Island? Yeah.
Oh, look, there's a tattoo at the bottom of the stairs.
Where are the hula girls who are gonna put the little lei around my neck?
Let me smell your hair.
Well, if it was going to Jeffrey Epstein's island, they'd be putting the lei somewhere else.
Yeah. So at any rate,
right down the street from Trump's place. Down here.
We've gone over 7 minutes. I got to walk my dog safely, but I'm not wearing masks outside. So you don't have to wear a mask. You wear a mask outside if you think you're going to be in close contact with people. You don't have to wear a mask. I'm watching people riding their bikes in the neighborhood wearing a mask. I'm going, it's just overkill.
I see these fuckers driving with their windows up and AC on and masks on. It's like, what the fuck are you idiots up to?
They're holding themselves up. It's really weird. It's like a fantasy, It's like you can be Billy the Kid while you're driving. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We'll just keep going. We're going to see where this is going to take us. But we'll be talking more about pandemic one day and more about sports when there is actually really sports that are going on. And and I know I'm outspoken. But it would be a really boring show if you had a host who didn't have a point of view. It would really be without opposition. It would be a really boring show. And the two quietest people on the panel, Rox and Rick, the opposite sides of the.
Yeah, I don't think Rick said like more than 6 words today.
Hey, how about them murder hornets, huh?
Or CNN calls them the Chinese murder hornets. Like,
Pete Rose is going to be selling his cork bats to make some extra cash.
Rick's too busy writing in Facebook responses to Les Levine's show.
Right.
Les Levine's still alive?
I'm writing the epitaph for Don Shula.
Yeah.
Les Levine was still alive. That's surprising.
Yeah, he is.
You know what I thought? I thought
90.
they were talking about. I thought that the Murder Hornets had something to do with Michael Jordan's professional basketball team. Though.
Oh,
I thought that was a new basketball team from Seattle.
I think he's
Seattle
hoping
Murder
that
Hornets.
I think
Ray
he's hoping
Lewis's
it'll
new
sting
football
the
team.
shit out of his fucking team and save him some payroll.
Where did they come up with this shit? I mean, it's like, what name can we give that will scare people more?
That's like
what
the
Rox was
XFL
saying
the shit
earlier.
out
It's
of
like
that,
Murder Hornets. It's like,
Well, don't you remember the South American killer bees?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was like the Killer Bees. They knock on your door.
That was an ongoing skit on the original SNL.
Yeah, bees.
Yeah,
the
but we
killer
got
The
the
bees.
killer,
fire ants.
we are
They're
the
the
killer
motherfuckers.
bees.
By the end of the week, Stephen King will have a book out on it anyway. So
All right, everybody.
Well,
Thanks for
thank you.
tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again on Friday, I promise you, with another show, and we'll be seeing you then. So take care, be safe, and do what your conscience tells you, but please be respectful toward others and have a good
Yes,
night, everybody.
BEE safe.
Yeah, thank you. Good night, everybody. And
Before you close out.
hasta la vista, Pastor Heads.
Goodbye.